Is the 2004-2008 Ford F-150 worth buying? If you have between $8,000 and $12,000 and are considering buying a used pickup, the 2004-2008 Ford F-150 should definitely be on your list. But is it really worth it, especially given that many of these trucks have already surpassed 130,000 or 150,000 miles? What are the pros and cons? If you decide to buy one, what are the best tips for maintaining it and avoiding costly failures? We'll cover all of this in this video, including which trim to consider if you're looking for reliability. Let's start with the positives. The 2004-2008 Ford F-150 marked a significant leap forward for the F-150 name, earning the Motor Trend Truck of the Year award in 2004. The innovations introduced with this model were crucial for winning that award. First up was the design. The distinctive look of these trucks was established with this model, and few who like pickups would say this generation is unattractive. It might lack a bit of flair, but it's certainly not ugly. Next is the interior. Compared to its predecessors, the leap in quality was substantial. Modular panels, which looked like they were made from Lego, allowed the brand to mix materials and textures easily, moving from plain plastic to plastics that mimic aluminum and wood. Additionally, this was the first F-150 to feature a floor-mounted gear shifter, moving away from the work truck interior and more towards SUV-like comfort. It might not look modern by today's standards, but it does have its charm. The shift towards an SUV-like driving experience was also achieved with the new independent aluminum front suspension and the introduction of rack and pinion steering. Even if you're not familiar with the terms, the improved driving quality of the truck is evident. It's more comfortable and quieter. The two engines were also notable. The classic 4.6-liter V8, which had been around since the 1990s and was refined over time, proved to be quite reliable in this generation. The new Triton 5.4-liter V8, with its 3 valves per cylinder and 300 horsepower, was introduced for the first time in this model. We'll discuss it further later, but it's worth noting that a V6 option was also available, which, while less popular, is among the most reliable. Safety was another highlight, particularly in the double cab versions, which received good ratings from the NHTSA. We'll dive into this more later. As a work truck, the F-150 delivers. Depending on the cab type, regular cab, extended cab, super cab, or super crew, it could carry up to 1.3 tons and tow over 9,700 pounds. It was also available with either rear-wheel drive or selectable four-wheel drive. So, in summary, it's a truck worth considering, but it's not without its issues, which might make you hesitate before buying. Now, on to the negatives. The biggest concern is the 5.4-liter engine. Preventive maintenance during its early years is crucial. The two most common complaints are failures in the timing chain guides and issues with the rocker arms, which are responsible for opening the engine's valves. If there are problems with either of these components, you'll hear a noticeable tack-tack-tack noise from the engine, especially when starting or when it's cold. Paying attention to this is essential, as a failure in the timing chains can result in catastrophic engine damage. Another issue is that, while the spark plugs are of good quality and can last up to 100,000 miles, it's recommended to remove and clean them every 20,000 to 30,000 miles. Combustion carbon builds up around the electrode, and when trying to remove the spark plugs, they can break due to this buildup. There are also two common problems with the exhaust manifold. The first is a crack in the manifold, which causes a popping sound when the engine is cold, but usually disappears as the metal expands and seals the crack. This would require replacing the manifold. The second issue is when one of the bolts holding the manifold breaks due to heat and temperature changes, causing the gasket to loosen. Unlike the first issue, the noise does not go away when the engine warms up and can get louder as the gasket deteriorates. The solution here would be to replace the bolts with higher strength ones, after checking if the manifold has deformed, which may require additional repairs. This is crucial because exhaust gases could leak into the cabin, potentially causing carbon monoxide poisoning over time. Another wear and tear issue is with the MAF and EGR sensors, which tend to fail around 100,000 miles, causing problems with engine performance and idle irregularities. The engine also has a design flaw. The small openings on the top where oil flows to lubricate the valve area can become clogged if oil changes are not done on time, or if a thicker oil than the recommended 5W20 is used. This poor oil management can also affect the variable valve timing system, increasing engine consumption. Always use high-quality synthetic oils, as they provide extra protection for the engine. The other two engines, which Ford had been refining over the years, generally have fewer issues. The 4.6 engine, in particular, is related to the engine in the Ford Crown Victoria, one of the most durable Ford models you can buy. While there have been reports of transmission failures, these transmissions are among the most reliable in recent years. Although the manufacturer claims the fluid is lifetime, I believe it's better to replace it every 30,000 miles due to pressure and temperature conditions that gradually degrade its properties. If the previous owners didn't perform this maintenance, it's worth checking whether it was done and, if not, or if the fluid is very dark, it might be best not to change it. Also, remember that the manufacturer recommends changing the automatic transmission filter every 100,000 miles, which would be a good time to clean the transmission. Share in the comments if you've had issues with your transmission, or if you've done this service on your F-150. Another tip for any engine is to replace the oil pump with a high-flow one if you need to disassemble the engine, as this was a design flaw in the Triton 5.4. Also, check the gaskets and the condition of the water pump. Be attentive to any rust on the hydraulic steering lines, which could lead to leaks and, in the absence of fluid, cause a failure in the power steering pump. Now, my recommendations for making the best purchase. If you're considering a 2004 or 2005 model, it's better to go with the smaller V8, even though you won't get the Lariat trim reserved for the larger engine. The 4.6 engines are generally more reliable. If you need a truck for transporting things but not for towing, choose either the V6 or the smaller V8, as they offer better fuel economy. If you want the larger V8 for its smooth performance or want access to the Lariat and Eddie Bauer trims, it's worth investing a bit more and looking for 2007 or 2008 models, where Ford addressed many of the issues, resulting in much more reliable engines. Leave your opinions, suggestions, or corrections about what I've said in the video, or regarding the F-150 in the comments below. They will be very helpful to anyone considering buying one. And remember to like or subscribe if you find this content interesting. See you soon.